All right, we are back. We are rolling through this first day at FETC. It is pre-conference day. We are live, as you can see people walking behind our next guest coming through, saying hi. We've had many people stop in and look for their badges. We do not have those here. We have some laughs and some waters. We do not have your badges. You just head down those stairs right there. My name is Matthew Joseph. I am the co-host of the Stronger Together podcast. We are live from FETC, and I'm thrilled to be partnering with Identity Automation. I'm learning so much about this really important product that is in schools. We just had an awesome interview meeting here. Make sure to watch that back. But I have my co-host Jamie Donnelly from Identity Automation with me all day today. Jamie, how you holding on?
I'm doing good. I mean, I've met some incredible people that I didn't know, and then some reconnecting with people that I did know, and it's been a really awesome day of learning.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate when we get to do things like this. Thank you to Jen Wobble for making this happen, because this is what the conference is. We get to meet amazing speakers. We get to meet amazing people, and it's just in real time because things happen all around us. And especially for my next guest, who I'm always thrilled to talk to and learn from, somebody I look to for knowledge and guidance in a role that I've never held. And I would like to welcome in Superintendent Neil Gupta to the Stronger Together podcast.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It is crazy. It's like we're right outside. There's a tarmac right here, people everywhere. The energy, the conference is just starting. It's amazing.
Well, Neil, can you tell us a little bit about what you're passionate about in education? You know, what brought you to FETC? What is your topic that you're really hoping to dig into as well?
Sure. Those things are all wrapped up together. So I'm in a new role, a year and a half as a superintendent. And that's a heavy responsibility of kind of thinking about helping to set the direction of how we need to make sure our students and our staff are prepared for whatever future comes. And the idea about technology, obviously that's the conference, is first and foremost, but those indicators behind it on how we help prepare our students for those durable skills, not soft skills, but those durable skills. You know, I think specifically about adaptability and making sure that we're in a place of testing things out, not getting too settled in on what we see there, and then kind of looking ahead of the curve. That's actually one of the presentations I'll be doing tomorrow is helping that leadership build adaptable skills and things to look beyond, you know, what's around the horizon. It's tough because you want to make sure that you're on the front lines with technology and where learning is, but at the same time, once you feel like you've got that settled in, you don't just pause and think that you've got that taken care of, because you've got to continue to stay in that spirit.
Yeah, and talking about that, looking forward, you know, your session tomorrow, January 15th at 9 a.m., early in the morning, Beyond Tools, using design thinking to collaborate with AI as a teammate. And I think what I've always loved about FETC is there's so many tracks. There's the teacher track, the ed tech coach, the esports, the school leader, and the district leader track, which you are on and speaking about. And you're talking about this from a district lens, but also from a practical lens. So share about that session tomorrow for people looking through, seeing that on the catalog and saying, all right, this is interesting. What's that going to be about tomorrow?
Absolutely. So it is design thinking. So design thinking is a process. It's a way of kind of looking at how issues or problems present themselves and looking at them through the lens of empathy first, and making sure that we're having conversations to do that. That specific presentation, I'm co-presenting with Saba Kidwai. She actually used to work for Apple. She's out of California. She spent a month in Dubai, out in the Middle East, doing a lot of great work around that. And we're having this conversation about how can we leverage artificial intelligence tools to help accelerate that conversation of empathy. And that's an awkward thing to say, because we think that has to be all people-centered. but you could use technology to help make that and accelerate that feedback faster.
What have you found to be kind of the driver of bringing AI into the classroom? Is it more, I hear you talk about future careers, but are there other factors that have kind of created this demand and anticipation of where we're going in education?
I think it's just embedded in everything. Like, I think that even as our educators, we're having that conversation with our teachers. Before you even think about feeling like you have to do something in your classroom with students, think about how you could use it yourself in how you lesson plan, how you prepare, how you help think about, how you're going to engage and talk with people. So, for example, as you're getting ready to think about instituting a new initiative in the classroom or at the building level, if it's with principals, use ChatGPT or another tool to give you all the reasons why parents may not like that or students may have problems with it, to gather some of that feedback, because sometimes we're so myopic. We take a look at it and go, well, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't we take it this way? And then all of a sudden the feedback hits in there. And so really it's asking the right questions. It always has been asking the right questions so that we can get some good information back and hopefully try to avoid future problems as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think talking about future problems and asking questions, your session on on Thursday, the 16th at 10 a.m., it's leading ahead of the curve. So it's talking about looking ahead and building adaptable teams in an ever-changing tech landscape. So as you look ahead, sometimes it's hard to forecast. What are the strategies or topics you're going to talk about in that session to really have leaders look ahead to maybe get over those speed bumps before they happen?
Sure. So we're going to take a look at a framework, and it's the Kenefin framework. And really, leaders have to take a look at what issue are you trying to solve, and try to identify which of the 5 kind of areas that issue that you're tackling is in, because how you decide what issue it is, where it fits, will determine how you approach that issue. So I think so often we kind of look at it as we've got this Swiss Army knife or at least we have just a knife, and we tackle all the issues this one way, when really you have to look at it from an aspect of what might occur. For example, if you're working amongst this unknown of unknowns, and there's complete chaos that's happening right there, you might have to first just worry about stabilizing the system before you're able to actually fix anything. So often we get into fix mode when we just need to be able to be in a place of kind of calming the peace and the waters down before moving on to the next thing. I'd say another thing that we're going to kind of talk about is the idea about giving yourself permission to ask questions and to put together some maybe prototyping or take a look at some iterative processes to test things before you scale it up. Some of the problems that we tend to do is we make quick reactions to things when we don't need to. We make them time-driven decisions. So we'll go ahead and make a quick decision based on, we heard feedback from one person. We institute that across the whole board. Well, that costs money, that costs time, that costs confusion and frustration when we maybe didn't have to do that. We self-impose that. Great example is emails. We have crushed ourselves because we feel like we have to answer emails in the order that they came in and respond to them right away, instead of giving ourselves permission. And it's okay to say, I received your email, give me a couple of days or weeks or something to get the right answer and then get back to you.
One of the things that I think is really important too is when you're talking about these changes that need to happen within your organization, right? I guess my question for you is two things, policies that are set in place, especially when you're talking about AI, has the school district as a whole kind of taken policy into effect? And then also, is this very organic? Is it driven from the bottom up? I mean, are we getting students and teachers that are driving the initiatives, or do you feel like it's more top down where you're saying, hey, we see this coming, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, I look it to be a combination. I actually, AJ Giuliani, one of the featured speakers, we had him come to our district. We back last spring, talked about the idea of artificial intelligence, and we said, what better person to be able to come and talk to our staff. Now, before he came, and obviously he's very excited about artificial intelligence, and we brought him to the district, I stood up on stage beforehand to introduce him, and I told our staff, you should walk away with tension, because I think sometimes, I think there's this idea of, well, the district brought in this person, so we better like listen to everything he says. We better like it, or we're going to get in trouble. And I actually said, I brought him, but I want there to be this tension, exactly to your point, because the policies are still a little bit unclear. We're still not sure. I said, he's going to talk about all these great tools and resources, and we obviously don't have a budget for this to do all of them to the capacity. So live in that space of tension. I want you to, and again, this idea about test it out. Go ahead and try it out a little bit. Maybe it's just at the teacher level. Maybe you're going to work at it with one student sort of thing. And then we'll scale up sort of thing there. And we've got these trailblazers that might want to go farther, and we've got to be able to kind of harness that in the right way without squashing that energy level. But we've got to live in that tension versus sometimes either looking away from it and saying we're not going to worry about it at all because it's not clean, or we're going to go ahead and just open it all up and then find out that we've got ourselves in a problem later. But we've got to be able to incrementally bring people along in that journey. It's fair. We shouldn't do anything otherwise.
And I think whenever there is, as you said, when he talked, the staff might leave a little tension, a little nervous. Well, you have to have strong teams to do that. You have to build that team to do that. And you're talking about that Thursday afternoon at 3:30. One of my friends, Laura Williams. So talk about tools and strategies to create strong teams that the two of you are presenting about.
Absolutely. And we're really talking about that conversation. It's all going to be about relationships, and you've got to be able to have, she'll be sharing kind of a roadmap, a way to find and create a process for you to build an open relationship and having that conversation to take place. So often we believe that we could just kind of do it on the fly, and you might be able to do that. But when you have an organized system, sometimes it really does help to make things go a lot smoother.
One thing that I am hearing about the tension is that how rare it is to find an administrator asking for people to push back. It's really refreshing because you don't hear that very often. Oftentimes it's like, no, let's follow. We're going to go in this one way together. But to hear that you're saying, hey, I need to hear the pros, the cons, the potential problems, because that brings people together naturally. When they feel like they're part of it, instead of feeling dictated to, they feel like, hey, I have feedback, it's valuable, and they're hearing me, and we're moving forward collectively. I think that's so powerful.
I love the way you said it, because really what that says to, because really what's going on in my head right now is this is all scary. Like I said at the very beginning, this is a very big burden of leading a district with, I don't care if I've got 2,000 students in my district. I don't care if it was one student in my district that I said oh my gosh, the responsibility is so huge. And at the same time, it's one of those where and I said that before, you can't not move forward. We have to be able to do that. I'll tell you, not just did it, I think, send a message to our staff, our parents and our community heard that too. And I think that's an okay thing to say to them is, sometimes we don't have clean answers, because I know that they were clamoring on how is AI going to impact our education. And I said, I don't have an answer to that right now. But you know what? We're gonna kind of figure this out together, instead of us behind closed doors waiting for everybody else to figure it out, and then we're all of a sudden going to adopt a policy which we know is not necessarily going to have it all squared away.
We're pretending to have an answer. I don't have the answer for this. I can't make a prediction and be 100% accurate. We're all going to walk into this and learn from this.
Yes. So speaking of that and learning from that, I want to talk about your word for 2025 is forge. Talk about that. I'm also going to put his website down below. Make sure to check that out. Some great blogs on there, a lot of information. But what does that mean to you, forge?
Yeah. So actually, it was over winter break. And my son, my wife, and his girlfriend, we got to see a movie, and the title was The Forge.
I love that movie.
It was amazing, and it was really the story. I do encourage you to go watch the movie, but it's this idea, obviously, that comes out of taking something that's metal, and it's putting some high heat to it. And actually, if you read the blog, and I encourage you to do that, because this is the first time where I decided, in order to make it stick, not just write a blog about what it means to me, but I actually wrote a fable. And it was actually fun to write a fable. And so it's about a person that's kind of meets a somebody that works obviously with metals and asks, what's leadership supposed to be like? And he likens it to forging like steel, like a sword. But there's two processes that have to take place. Is you've got to put high heat, so this intensity heat that has to happen under the right control. So this controlled high heat has to happen. And then the second thing is about this cooling process. And after you've given this, you can't just kind of walk away. You have to be very deliberate at reflection, peace, time away to allow there to be it to kind of soak in, versus just kind of like walking away from it or not realizing that there's something that after you brought some high intense thing in, you just kind of walk away from it. And so I'm going to try to keep those two pieces as I think about the idea about new challenges, as far as how do we become good disruptors, at the same time, how do we help bring support that comes along with it.
So smart.
Yeah, I want to ask you one. Now we're going to dive into the movie for a second, because I just want to ask one question, because one of the things we deal with as school administrators, either in the building or the district, is when students have potential, but they're a little rough around the edges. In the beginning of that movie, one of the lead characters, the 20-year-old young man, went in to get a job at the fitness place, and wasn't the nicest guy, in the sense of was entitled, was rough around the edges, was kind of disrespectful. But what I took from that was that the experienced businessman was just like, okay, let's go grab something, and it really desensitized the in this case the individual. How do you do that in a school where sometimes kids come in and their hair is on fire, they're angry, and you just have to keep that level of calm in your work? How, for future aspiring district leaders, like, how's that something that you're able to do?
Yeah, and I think this actually comes from my previous job. I was the director of secondary education. I was also an expulsion hearing officer, and I did a lot of expulsion hearings. And so I got a lot of a good kind of tests through this. And what I really had to come through, and it is a process, it's this idea about, and it's that the quote that says, be curious, not judgmental. Or like I heard another quote similar to it that is, be curious, not furious. And instead of getting into that, like, because again, if you watch the movie, this kid who's rough around the edges, a little bit arrogant, you could quickly write him off and just kind of go, I don't have time for a student like that, or I don't have time to kind of, help polish that. The world will take care of that later. But instead of kind of, going with a certain assumptions that you might have, is get into that curiosity mode and ask questions and, just lead with that, lead with empathy. I'll be honest with you, I had to learn that over time. Because I found out that it was also ruining me. I was not going home as a good person when I was taking care of some of those things, and just going through and saying, I'm here to help support you. So we've got this issue that we've got to go through, sort of thing. But on the other side of it, I care about you as a person. You have to be in that frame of reference.
That's amazing. I'm just going to say, this has been such a great discussion. I am so inspired by you, Neil. Like, that was awesome. And I think the emphasis on mentorship and relationship building and the importance of that in our educational system is obviously what all of this hinges on, right? Building the trust of those people. So that is phenomenal. One last question for you. Stronger together. What does that mean for you professionally? What does that mean for you maybe in your personal life, and really coming here to FETC? What does that mean for you?
Yeah. So actually, Matt and I have had this conversation because you saw my website link kind of scroll across, and it's called Farther Together.
Yes.
So there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. And so stronger together, farther together, we're not debating that. It's the same thing. It's this idea about, because I've tried it before. I thought before I could go a lot faster if I go by myself. And I'll be honest with you, you think you get there, and then you realize that the organization is not there, and it crumbles and falls apart. And this idea about like just humanity and what we're really trying to do for kids and what we're doing for our community is better if we do it together. And so it's been a hallmark. Actually, I don't know like how it happened, but in our school district, let me just say about our mission statement of our Oakwood City School District that we derived last year based on community feedback. This was not me going behind a closed door and writing it. Together we learn, together we achieve, together we prepare students for tomorrow. You heard three words that happened that were the same: together. And I'm proud of our community and our school district that adopted that same type of mentality.
That's
Well,
powerful.
That is awesome. Well, Neil, thank you so much for taking the time. Make sure to check out both of his days of sessions as well, starting with on tomorrow at 9 o'clock, building tools using design thinking to collaborate with AI as a teammate, and then again on Thursday with leading ahead of the curve in tools and strategies. And if you want an expo tour, make sure to come Thursday at 1 o'clock, and Neil will be giving you an expo tour. So, Neil, thanks for taking the time. And rumor has it, I'm going to see you in the pickleball courts tonight.
Pickleball, let's go, let's go.
All right, for all of you out there watching, make sure to continue to tune in. We are here the rest of the day today and tomorrow morning as well to continue to share all of these impactful voices like Neil and share the great and important work of identity automation. So, Jamie, thanks for sticking with me. Neil, have a great rest of the day and rest of the event. And for all of you out there, continue to stay stronger together.